The compelling sound of the UEFA Champions League anthem reverberating in the studios of the SportsMax Zone, which could only mean one thing. The UCL is our focus now, as some of Europe's finest did battle in quarterfinal first leg action earlier on Tuesday. We begin with the happenings out of North London, where the Gunners, Arsenal, welcomed a few familiar foes to the Emirates Stadium, as former Tottenham Hotspur striker Harry Kane and Bayern Munich made the flight to England to do battle. We have the highlights.
And away we go, the quarterfinals of the UEFA Champions League in 2023-24. And conductor. There you go, finding Saka. Davies just about got it away from Saka, retrieved by Havertz. Now it's Saka! And Arsenal lead with a brilliant finish from Bukayo Saka.
Well, what a noise in the stadium. Saka, you could argue, has not been on top form last few weeks, but he looks a determined figure out there. Fairly fortunate break of the ball, but after that it's all about getting it into his feet. The gap was there, use the defender as the shield. Maybe Neuer doesn't see it until it's too late.
Now, Gabriel was somewhat flummoxed, I think, by the positioning of David Raya.
Yeah.
Didn't expect him to be so far from goal. That's a lovely ball for Goretzka. Gnabry, and it's 1-1. It's a brilliant counter-attacking goal from Bayern, finished off by Serge Gnabry.
He's come out there, and Gabriel's got nobody to pass to. It does confuse him. Normally he would just knock that back to the keeper. Having said that, that's sloppy from both parties. No doubt he's onside.
Bukayo Saka for Arsenal. Towards the near post, it nearly fell to Kivior. Hasn't fallen for White, and it has for Manuel Neuer. But only 2 defeats on this ground all season in all competitions, Arsenal. But Kivior is chasing Sané in vain here. That was a great little covering touch from Jorginho. Now to penalty. To penalty. It's a brilliant run by Leroy Sané, and Saliba's caught him. And Harry Kane's wish comes true. He scores in the Champions League for Bayern against Arsenal.
There's plenty behind his penalties, and I thought he would have here. A little glance.
Saka, neatly done. Jesus. Gabriel Jesus, brilliant feet. Trossard! 2-2.
He took something a little bit special here to carve the opening. How many times have they been in this position, and Bayern have got the feet in there first, but lovely footwork from Jesus for the layoff. But what about after the finish? He's a fine finisher in the...
Partey. Oh, Saka! Neuer comes, Saka's as... Oh, he said no! Goodness me, now look at that! Kimmich.
He's blown.
And he's blown, and he's going to now go back.
Yeah, so 4 goals in that match, 10 goals in UEFA Champions League first leg quarterfinal action in all on the evening. Our football correspondent Juan Gango joins us to review this game. A humdinger of a fixture, this Juan. Let me start with the last play of the game, when there was a disputed penalty. Your thoughts on that?
No, when you first see it, you're wondering if it's a penalty, but when you start to see the replays, and of course having a little time in between the end of the matches and seeing it now, you see it. Saka ran into or looked to create that contact with Manuel Neuer, and that's what the referee interpreted. You can see right there. This angle, maybe you don't appreciate it much, but there's other angles where you see from behind. Maybe this one is a little bit better, where Saka goes in and basically runs into Neuer.
Yeah.
Especially when the ball's gone.
This is the best one. This is the best one. You can see
the referee decides.
Yeah, he puts his leg there, so I think that is what...
Exactly.
That's what aced it for the referees. But, you know, that's how the match ended, but it was a gripping fixture. And going into the match, when we were previewing the match, a lot of people had labelled Arsenal favourites for this match because on form, they appear to be playing better football than Bayern Munich were. If you look at their own domestic performances. But I did make the point yesterday that I don't like to use domestic form to project what happens in UEFA Champions League football, because we were seeing today a Bayern Munich team, although they are giving up their Bundesliga title, they used a lot of experience and know-how today to contain a young, vibrant Arsenal team.
Yeah, and when we were asked were these the top 8 teams in Europe, I said no, because again, going and piggybacking on what you said, the domestic form really isn't a foregone conclusion as well, because I mean, if that were the case, then Inter would have been in the top 8 and Bayern wouldn't. So that ends up being another kind of subjective kind of question that we can start delving into as this Champions League rolls along.
Yeah, on the face of it, because this was an away fixture, Juan, for Bayern Munich, people feel that Bayern Munich will leave this fixture feeling the more satisfied of the two teams. Is that a view you agree with?
Feeling more, I mean, maybe they feel satisfied with not losing and knowing that it's very open in terms of where this tie can end up going, especially going to Munich and playing the return leg. So knowing that everyone was putting Arsenal as the favorite, although when the match ends, maybe they could still be a slight favorite, but that favoritism is diminished quite a bit. We have to see how things play out over at Allianz Arena in just a couple of days. But it ends up being kind of an interesting matchup if you look at it. Not saying that City and Real Madrid aren't. It's just that there's a bit of a different involvement in terms of who was able to step up in the first half, but then also the changes that were made by Mikel Arteta in the second half. I even had in my notes, I'm like, when is Trossard coming in? When is Thomas Partey coming on? Is Gabriel Jesus going to be risked, especially knowing that his knee's not 100%? And true enough said, 2 of the 3 substitutions at least worked out for Mikel.
Yeah, and rightfully so, Juan, asking about Leandro Trossard, because as a substitute this season, he has come on and, of course, scored a total of 6 goals. Today, again, doing the same thing for his team. How impressed have you been with his game for Arsenal?
Well, if you've looked at how he played over at Brighton, you had an idea that he was going to contribute. Every time there's a transfer, you end up saying, okay, who's leaving? Who's going to be benched? How are they going to contribute? But then with Trossard, you ended up seeing that, even if he was coming off the bench, he was going to contribute on a consistent basis. And that's what he's done throughout the season. I mean, keep in mind what he's been able to do as basically, I guess, I don't know, as a super sub, if you will, at times for Arsenal. He's been able to really make a difference at times. That type of revulsive option that you have coming off the bench. So to me, I've been impressed with the minutes that he's had, with the limitations that he's had, but also they've been quality contributions and quality minutes as he's been able to perform.
Did you think that experience had a big part to play in Bayern Munich, of course, toughing it out and, getting this draw? Because Arsenal, and we spoke about it, I think Leger was the one who made the point in the Champions League pre-game show that Arsenal will always have it in the back of their mind that, they have been unable to, of course, close it out. And Leger went on to talk about nerves, and I think it still plays a big part. Despite this being a different Arsenal setup and the team looking really, really good in Premier League, you can't help but know in the back of your mind that it hasn't been done yet.
It hasn't been done yet. You're right, and he was right in bringing that up, because it's not just it's like exercising demons at a certain point, where you have to try and overcome certain blocks that you have. And everything was running smooth. Everything was going swimmingly for Arsenal when they took the lead. Now, when they ended up conceding the equalizer, that's when the nerves set in. You saw it in the body language of everyone on the pitch. You saw it in how, especially when Bayern takes the lead 2-1, how the desperation set in. Okay, what do we do now? How do we do this? Because so far this season, say for a couple of occasions, they've been a team that has been under control. It's a team that's been able to regulate things. It's a team that when they jump on top, they are going to stay on top. When they're in the area on a set piece, of course, they're leaders in the Premier League in terms of scoring on set pieces and things of that nature. They control games and they control them very well. Now, when they have to go after them, where do they end up being? Especially against a team like Bayern Munich.
Yeah, we want to talk quickly about Manchester City, but just before we leave this game, I saw late in the game where Partey was brought on, and sometimes, Juan, in a fixture that is so intense and high energy-driven, energy driven as that one is, a new player coming on finds it difficult to get to the pace of the game. And I found Partey struggled a bit in the back end of the game, to my mind, partly because he didn't get the pace of the game. So that was a moment where Arteta would have considered, strongly what he would have done with regard to that substitution.
Actually, I wrote in my notes, I said, why is it taking so long to put, this was like in the 65th, 67th minute or something like that.
Yes.
I said, why is it taking so long to bring in Thomas Partey? Yeah, but you're exactly right. I thought he was going to come in to replace Jorginho. I mean, not at halftime, but somewhere like the 60th minute or so, because Jorginho wasn't he wasn't also in the rhythm of the match as well at times. You saw Bayern really transitioning very well, especially in that sector. So I do have that question in terms of when you make the substitution, and is that substitution going to get into the rhythm of the game, which he did not.
Well, we saw 4 goals in that one, 6 goals in the other game. Let's move to the Manchester City fixture now. The defending champions against a team that has won more UEFA Champions League titles than any other team in history. Let's see what happened there.
And now we're good to go. Manchester City are in change colours this evening there in the navy strip. Grealish is leading a counter charge. He's brought down, free kick. Bernardo Silva. Oh, he's caught Lunin out. An incredible start.
Oh. No, he sees exactly where the goalkeeper is. Lunin just gets it round the one in the wall, and he has to do better. The goalkeeper, he's positioning because he doesn't think that he's going to do that.
Danny Carvajal. Camavinga shimmies away from Grealish. Big deflection. Real Madrid level. Any sort of touch, and it was the touch that took it away from a helpless Ortega. It's level at the Bernabeu.
Yeah, it's that big deflection, isn't it? Off Diaz as he comes in.
It was billed as a game that was always going to be wide open. It is every bit of that. And here's Vinicius Junior bearing down. That one's beaten Ortega. It's Rodrigo to score another. 2-1 Real Madrid. What a turnaround.
Well, he's got one thing on his mind, which just originates from the goalkeeper. Manchester City will be disappointed how easily Real Madrid get in. This is a great ball. Times his run to perfection. We were talking about Kyle Walker. Is this where you probably needed him? Oh, again, it's a little deflection.
Stones, Foden, a little bit of time. Oh, what a shot! What a goal! What a player! In the form of his young life. What a stage to do this on.
He's been absolutely brilliant this season, and yet again, it's a moment of brilliance. Finds himself in a little pocket of space, gets himself onto his left foot.
Here's Foden. Doesn't seem to have any in his game right now. Grealish. Which way this time? Inside. Guardiola. Guardiola! And Manchester City, for the first time since the 12th minute, are back in front of the tie.
What a strike this is, Guy. It's absolutely brilliant.
So Modric rolling back the years here, scurrying away from defenders. Vinicius Junior, oh, what a shot! What a goal that is! Real Madrid are level again in the Santiago Bernabeu.
What a game of football this is, and what a finish from Valverde. We've seen some brilliant strikes. This is another one.
Wow, that Valverde shot was the best goal of the day for me, Juan. I'm not sure how you're looking at that. That certainly brought things level at 3-3, but what a stunner that was. One of many good goals that we saw today.
Whichever one you want, I would have said, yep, you're right. I mean, it ends up being these types of encounters where you think, why go to penalties? Why not just go to style points in terms of how they're scoring goals? And were there defensive shortcomings? Yes, there were. Were there instances where both teams played well defensively? Yes, because how many times did we see Erling Haaland involved in the run of play? Very few. There are very few times that we saw him even touching the ball. So that's when you end up kind of seeing some individual defensive efforts have to be commended, but overall it was just a tremendous back and forth game of football.
the intrigue for this match, Juan, started from even before the first ball was kicked, because Kevin De Bruyne not being in the starting roster, we understand later that he was unwell. How did that grab you?
It's Phil Foden, man. I mean, does it really matter? I mean, Phil Foden was there. Jack Grealish had a very good game as well. Bernardo Silva also played very well. So, I mean, I mentioned it at the beginning of when we're previewing the match, that if there is an advantage that City has that's very distinct over Real Madrid, it's the depth that they have. Because, I mean, yeah, you're talking, a team that's missing Kevin De Bruyne, you'd be like, whoa, that's a huge loss. But with City, especially the way that everyone else is playing, you end up saying, well, yeah, it'd be great if he was there, but if he's not, and they've been able to handle it for a good portion of the season, okay, so.
Yeah, and Juan, do you get the sense that, Manchester City today lacked pace and that was one of their downfalls?
I don't know if they lack pace necessarily. I think, yeah, you're not having a Kyle Walker makes you look like you don't have pace. But then again, when you have guys like Rodrigo, when you have Vinicius Jr., when you have Jude Bellingham moving the ball around, even Federico Valverde being able to do his thing as well, you're facing a team that on the other end does have some pace themselves. So maybe it looks diminished compared to other sides. But I didn't see a team that looked utterly slow. I saw a team that moved the ball around well with good criteria. Maybe you don't have super world-class speed on Manchester City, but overall the team speed's good. Overall they moved the ball well with a great deal of intelligence. So I don't think they lacked pace, if you will, in terms of their overall play.
So what are we expecting for the second leg? Because today we were off our seats. There were so many different storylines coming from this first leg. It's evenly poised at 3-3 after the first leg won. So you expect Real Madrid, who are the team that has won this competition so many times before, to overcome Manchester City, who has won it for the first time last year?
Look, if there's one thing that we all have to have learned a long time ago, is that if you're beating Real Madrid by 1 goal, it doesn't matter where you're playing them, that they're still in it. Even if they're beating by 2 goals. The best example I can give you is that, of course, the tie last year when City in the return leg ended up just trouncing them. That's the only way you get rid of them. That's the only way you can actually say, you know what? There's no way they're coming back. You're going to have to actually pummel them to be able to advance to the next round. That's exactly what they did. They're going to have an effort similar to that, because there's no way, no how, that if you're giving them a 1, maybe even a 2-goal advantage late in the game, you want them still thinking that there's life in them.
Yeah, Juan, I agree with you 100%. Of course, we still have a lot more UEFA Champions League football to talk about, because we look ahead to Wednesday's game. Juan will stay exactly where he is, because on the other side of the break, we preview Wednesday's fixtures in the UEFA Champions League. Back in a moment.